Welcome to The Explainer. You know, the mind can often feel like this wild, untamed frontier. But what if there was an ancient map to navigate it? Well, today, we're going to create a super practical guide drawn from the classic Yogacara Bhumi Shastra. It's a foundational text on meditation, and our goal is to turn its incredible wisdom into a clear roadmap for taming the complexities of our very own minds.
So let me ask you something. Just for a second, think about your inner world. Is it a place of calm and focus, like a peaceful garden? Or does it feel more like a battlefield, with thoughts and feelings constantly at war? This is the fundamental challenge we all face, and it's exactly what this ancient guide is here to help us with.
All right, here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to identify the common obstacles that create all that inner chaos. Then, we'll walk through the text's core solution, a 7-step framework for training the mind. We'll start with laying the foundation and go all the way to reaching a state of real clarity. Okay, let's dive in.
Before we can build anything, we need to clear the ground, right? So the text first asks us to really get to know the forces that mess with our inner peace. It calls them the 5 hindrances, and they are the primary obstacles to getting any kind of mental stability.
Do any of these sound familiar? I bet they do. You've got sensual desire, that magnetic pull towards anything pleasant. Then there's ill will, that feeling of anger, frustration, and just general aversion. Sloth and torpor, that's the mental fog, the drowsiness that makes it impossible to focus. Restlessness and worry is that monkey mind we hear about, just jumping all over the place. And finally, there's doubt, the one that just paralyzes you before you even start. These are the usual suspects.
Now, this is where it gets incredibly practical and frankly pretty brilliant. The text doesn't just name the problems, it hands us a diagnostic toolkit. It says, look, each hindrance has a food, a way of thinking that keeps it going, and a direct antidote. So for desire, the food is focusing on how attractive something is. The antidote is to look at it differently. For ill will, dwelling on what's wrong is the food. Actively cultivating kindness is the antidote. It turns these big, vague problems into solvable equations. Okay, so now that we've identified the obstacles and we know their antidotes, let's get to the core of this guide. The text lays out this powerful 7-step framework for actively training the mind, for moving it from that state of chaos to one of focused, stable calm.
The key tool we're going to be using, the absolute cornerstone of this whole process, is a faculty that text calls mental application. Think of it like the rudder on a boat. It's that conscious, deliberate act of steering your attention wherever you want it to go. It's not about forcing anything. It's about skillfully guiding the mind. Every single step that follows is just a different way of using this one fundamental skill.
And here it is. This is our path. These are the 7 mental applications. And they're sequential, so each one builds on the one before it. We're going to start with simple perception, then move to stabilizing our focus, actively letting go of distractions, and eventually we'll reach a state of effortless clarity. So let's jump into that first stage and see how this all kicks off.
Look, this journey doesn't start with some giant, impossible leap. It begins with 3 foundational steps. These are designed to build a solid baseline of mental awareness and control, kind of like creating a stable platform for all the deeper work that's going to come later.
Step 1 is discerning characteristics. Now, it might sound a little fancy, but it's the simplest and maybe the most crucial step of all. It just means learning to see things clearly. So if you're focusing on your breath, you are simply noticing the raw sensations, the in-breath, the out-breath, exactly as they are. No stories, no judgments. This is the bedrock of mindfulness.
Okay, so once we can see the object clearly, step 2 is conviction. This is where we shift from just passively noticing to intentionally sustaining our focus. It's the part of the mind that says, all right, I'm staying with this. It's all about developing that resolve, that mental muscle to keep the mind from wandering off every 2 seconds.
The third step is detachment, and this is a really active process. When a distraction pops up, one of those 5 hindrances we talked about, this is the mental move you make to consciously turn away from it and gently guide your attention right back to your focus. We are literally learning to distance the mind from the noise and steer it back towards stillness.
So once we have that foundation in place, we can see clearly, we can sustain our focus, and we can detach from distractions, we're ready to go deeper. The next 2 steps are what take our practice from just simple stability to a state of joyful engagement and real, genuine insight. And this next one, step 4, oh, this is so crucial. It's called gladdening. This shows us that meditation isn't supposed to be some grim, joyless chore. This mental application is all about actively cultivating and appreciating the joy and the peace that come from having a calm mind. When we find pleasure in the practice itself, we create this powerful positive feedback loop that just makes us want to continue. Now, once the mind is calm and even a little joyful, we can use that stability for a brand new purpose. Step 5 is observation. This is where the whole practice shifts from just calming the mind to understanding it. We use our focused attention to really examine the nature of our thoughts and feelings, and we start to gain real insight into how our inner world actually operates. We've now reached the final stage of the path, and the next couple of steps aren't so much things we have to do, but they're more like the natural results of all our consistent practice. This is where all our efforts really start to pay off. Step 6 is the culmination of effort. Think about learning to ride a bike. At first, it takes so much effort and concentration, right? But eventually, it just becomes second nature. You don't even think about it. Well, this stage is just like that. The practice isn't a clunky, deliberate effort anymore. It becomes this seamless, stable, and integrated state of mind that just works, almost effortlessly. And that leads us beautifully to the final destination, the fruit of culmination. This isn't another task to complete. It is the natural outcome of the entire journey. It's that state where the mind is no longer a chaotic battlefield, but has become that peaceful garden, finally free from the grip of the hindrances, and operating with clarity, stability, and a really profound sense of peace. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Well, it's that this ancient text isn't just some dusty old philosophical theory. It is a practical, step-by-step map that literally anyone can use to navigate their own mind. We've really taken a journey here, haven't we? We went from diagnosing the chaos of the 5 hindrances, all those desires and aversions and doubts that pull us every which way, to following this incredibly structured 7-step path. It takes us from the simple act of just noticing all the way to a profound and stable state of inner freedom. Ultimately, this ancient guide isn't some final destination you have to reach. It's a lifelong map, something you can always use. It offers a clear direction for anyone who wants to better understand and work with their own mind. So the only question left is, where on this map will you choose to begin?